That just means I love you. I love you, Milwaukee. How are you doing? Welcome to the Nyumba Upendo show. You're listening to me, Kwaku Amawasi, with my co-host, Dr. Alicia Mutri.
Good morning, Milwaukee. Good morning.
And before I say anything, I had to let you know that I got my P and P from my mama. That's my prayers and permission.
Yes.
So she's giving us permission to speak. And I just want talk about something a little serious real quick. I usually dedicate the show for the spirit of someone. But today I want to dedicate it to Kennedy Saunders, Breonna Moffett, and William Jerome Rivers. These were the three soldiers that were killed on behalf of the United States in that horrific drone strike. So just sending love to their families, to our community at this time. As we talk about this show, it's all about how do we uplift the community, and sometimes just saying thank you for the selfless service that people give to us, I think is something that we have to remember. Now, this show could not come to you if it was not for our friends at Mental Health of America of Wisconsin, United Garden Homes, and Healthy MKE. Debo, all the time I was coming up, you try to date, it's the saying, so you got to keep up with the Joneses. You know that, right?
I've heard tell of it, yeah.
Whereas this one man, he told me, because I was like, I don't know if I can keep up with the Joneses. He's like the Joneses kind of got a lot. He said, well, listen here, brother. He said, when your outgo is more than your income, then your upkeep becomes your downfall.
There you go.
And I was like, oh, what that mean? I didn't know what it meant.
Right.
He said, when you spending more than what you got coming in, trying to keep up with the Joneses is going to bring you down to a whole nother level.
That's a problem, man.
And so a lot of times when we talk about this show, we talk about mental health. People always think we're going to talk about anxiety, we're going to talk about depression and all these different terms. But I tell people, health comes in so many different ways. And one of the biggest things I think that causes us a lot of stress is financial stress when we don't understand how to do, certain things with our pocketbook. So me and my sister, we were talking about how can we bring this information? She said, oh, I already got something for us. I got something we can bring to the community that's going to be able to bless their spirit, that's going to be able to help their pocketbook as far as the management or why. She said, I got the perfect person. So I don't even want to steal her thunder. I'm going to let her kind of bring us into this next level.
Well, I got to tell you, so the first time our guest had an opportunity to listen in, she decided to give me a call and said, hey, I just wanted to give you a call to tell you, you and your brother, y'all doing a good job. And she says, I'm in Chicago, but I just had to make sure that I reached out to you to tell you how well you're doing. I said, I'm nosy. I'm like, oh, what you in Chicago? What you doing? She's like, oh, me and my husband, we're on a financial retreat. I said, you and your husband are on a financial retreat. I said, I think more people need to hear about that. So, without further ado, I want to tell you who's our guest. Miss Sheila Brazil Jackson. I'm going to add that Brazil because that Brazil name is pretty popular here in the city, right? Besides being a friend, Sheila is a cybersecurity lead project manager for Northwestern Mutual. She is a wife to Jonathan. She is a mother of triplets. Ooh. We don't hear that too often, right? Triplets. She got three.
But you don't one up me.
Yeah, right? She one up you there. And I got to give them a shout out because they're some of my favorite teens. Jayla, Jonathan, and Joseph, they go to Pius High School. I did some work in Pius. And, a lot of times when you work with teenagers, they may see you in high school and they kind of put their head down like, I ain't trying to talk, like, hi, like that kind of distance hello. No, these teenagers are like beautiful. They're like, hey, Miss Alicia, how you doing? Come give me my hug. So I'm some fine children. I had to give a quick shout out to them. She's a loyal daughter, and then she has siblings. She's got 6 siblings. Ooh. Sheila is a sibling of 6. She is a friend, and then she's actually a tax accountant for a chosen few. Without further ado, I just want to welcome.
What's she at on 6? What number is you in that 6?
I'm number 7. Actually, I have 6 siblings.
Oh,
wow!
You're the baby.
I am the baby.
She is the baby.
Shout outs for the babies in the crew.
Exactly. Well, Milwaukee, we have with us Miss Sheila Brazil Jackson. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much. I surely appreciate being here today. And I want to thank you for what you are doing in the community. I want you to understand the impact that you're making on the lives here. It's so important, the work that you're doing. You have to know that there are some people who do not get a chance to get out often.
Yeah.
And the radio is what they're doing. They're listening here and they're taking your advice. And so thank you for what you're doing in our Milwaukee community.
Oh,
All of our people, they need it.
I
And I
say,
just
Queen.
appreciate it. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
WNOV,
Appreciate
the
it.
voice,
Yeah.
860 AM.
Yes.
You got it. You got
To the
it. So I'm going to jump right into that thing. Like,
All
again,
right.
you heard the show the first time you were in Chicago and you told me that you were on a retreat with us. I'm like, I need to hear a little bit more about that. And I think the Milwaukee community could benefit from that as well.
Oh, yes.
What were you doing?
Yes. So you know what? The way I live my life, I always tell people a goal without a plan is just a wish. A goal without a plan is just a wish. So if you
Is
have
that
this
one of
plan,
was that one of those nuggets?
I think
That's
those one of those nuggets.
nuggets.
We always say instant replay. Instant
I'm
replay.
writing
Say
it
that
down.
one
I'm
again.
taking notes. I couldn't even do my job.
yes, that's one of those nuggets that you should live your life by. So when we got married 24 years ago now, we sat down and we created a budget for our household. What do we want our money to do? And you could do two things. You could either let your money spend itself, where you are on the receiving end, or you can tell your money what to do for you. And that's what we were very intentional about what we wanted our money to do for us. And so we do this yearly. We go usually that few days between Christmas and New Year's. We go away for 3 or 4 days, sometimes Chicago, any number of places. But we make a budget. And we make our goals for the year. What do we want to spend as a family? How do we want our spending to go with the children? What are those big expenses we're expecting to come up in this next year? And then we come up with a budget. We come up with a plan of what we want to do. And then at the following year, we go back and look and say, did we do what we said we were going to do? Right? So you can't just plan for something. You got to actually go back and review it and actually see, did you meet those plans? What did you plan to do?
Sound like you're running the marriage like a business.
We do. Very important, right? Because if you think about it, marriage is a business.
Yes.
It's a contract. You're making a legal contract when you go down to the courthouse. You're asking for a legal contract that you're making with this other person. And it's so critical when you think about why divorce rate is so high. Usually the number one, other than, spousal,
Communication, fidelity, infidelity,
Right. and finances.
finances.
Right. And so if you're not on one accord when it comes to finances, you're just not going to be successful. And so my goal is to teach more people how to be financially successful so that you could take the financial part off of the table. That you're not going to fight over how we manage our
'Cause it's
money,
already
how we
planned
spend
what
our
we're
money.
gonna do.
We already planned how we're going to do it.
And I love the backtrack part of it too, just real quick. Just you set the goals. A lot of times people set goals and then they just keep going. Oh, I didn't make that one. Let me just keep going. They keep pushing, set some new goals. No, they take the time to actually think about what it is they said they were going to do. We come back next year, we look at it and say, hey, we didn't do that. Why not?
Exactly.
Maybe we add that back to the next year's goal, or do we say, you know what, it didn't happen, but maybe that wasn't meant to be?
No, I was just saying, I love it because that's what we do. Like when we talk about therapy, we set a goal, say, did these things work? If it didn't, do we need to tweak it? Do we need to overhaul it? Or if it's going good, how do we stay disciplined? My question was, you said you do it on a yearly, but even within that yearly, do you have like a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, kind of thing with your children, college, all of those?
Definitely, right? So when you start thinking about retirement, you have that long-term plan. That's that I'm looking for retirement, and you might even have set a goal and said, at 60, I'm done in this workforce, right? Or whatever that number is for you. And so you have to plan for retirement. If you have children, you have to plan if you're planning to send them to college. Are you saving for their college tuition? Or you may have a child who decided, I don't want to go to college. I want to start my own business. Are you saving for them to be able to start and be that entrepreneur, to give them, to set them up for life, right? So yes, you have those long-term plans, and then you have those short-term plans. It may be that you're looking to purchase a house in the next 3 to 5 years, right? So how do I start saving those dollars for a new purchase of a house or a car? And then you have those short-term plans, that year plans. Like we're about to do some renovations in our bathroom. So those are short-term plans. And this next year, we are going to spend some money out to refurbish our bathroom. So you have those long-term plans. That's your retirement, and what does retirement look like? How do you want it to look for you? And then you have those medium range plans, maybe saving for college for your children or purchasing a new house or, something along those lines. And then you have those short-term plans as well.
So I had a question just
We
about,
both got questions.
we're all, financial health is financial wealth, right? That's what this is all about, right?
Oh.
So my question for you was, like, did you see this happening within your upbringing? And then how blessed are the triplets to actually see their parents do this? And I'm guessing that you teach them about this as well.
Oh, definitely, right? Because we're raising millionaires, and that's what we
Okay,
tell
say
them,
that again.
right?
You raising
Millionaires,
what?
we
Now, that's the
measure
instant
millionaires and
replay.
billion. Well,
Yeah.
my daughter says billionaires. But
Come
I'm
on,
gonna be a
speak it
billionaire.
into existence.
So you have to, right? Because the power of life and death is in the tongue. And so
Ooh.
we have to speak that to our family members. We don't have to live beneath. We have everything that we need to live above. But some of it we just didn't know. Knowledge is power, and we have to
Financial
be
literacy.
able to. In financial literacy, which I still don't understand. Why does this not taught in the schools?
Well, I
right?
know why it's not taught, but I don't know why it's not taught.
Yeah, this is more critical to me to teach young people, especially when they're getting ready to go off to college, where all of these wonderful credit cards are going to start coming your way. And you don't
Yeah.
realize the impact that can have, not just for those few short years you're in college, but long range, right? And so, yes, we are teaching them right now how to invest.
So
Right.
my question is for you is this, because I'm listening to you, you sound incredibly disciplined. So what happens when one person go off the track? Let's say they're not as disciplined as you and your husband, and you have one person who say, oh, we set a plan, but then they don't follow the plan. What is some of the advice that you might be able to give people to kind of start small and say, if you don't have the discipline, start with these 2 or 3 strategies?
Sure. And so I like to BMW. Think about that, a car. BMW. First, create a budget. That's critical, right?
Mhm.
If you don't know the state of affairs, if you don't know how much money you have coming in, if you don't know how many bills you have, what that total looks like, and I know some are probably saying, I don't want to see what that number looks like, right? That makes me feel better not knowing. But you don't know the state of affairs. You can't make a decision
Ignorance
of how
is
to
not
correct
bliss
it.
in this case.
That
No.
reminds me of the scale. Get on that scale.
Get on that scale. It's not going to change, right?
But
By
you
not
need to know what
doing
you're
it,
working with too,
By
right?
not doing it, it's not going to change. So create a budget. That means
236. Oh, that hurt.
No comment.
So no, definitely create a budget. And the budget means show me what you have coming in. Show me what your total bills are, right? So you're spending money every month on rent or a mortgage or insurance. You're spending money on your food and everything that you're spending the money on. That's what a budget is. It's just telling you how much you got coming in and how much you got going out. Because now we can make some better decisions.
All right.
Right? If we need to increase our income, we could work on that plan. Right? If we need to reduce the amount of money that we're spending on credit cards, now we could work towards that.
Right.
But we have to see it.
Right.
So first, come up with a budget.
All right,
And
that's
this is
the B.
discipline, right? It's getting both of you on track as a husband and a wife, or, if you're in a committed relationship, sit down and come up with that budget and let's talk about it, right? And then second is manage. You have to somehow manage how much you're spending, right? A lot of times we just spend and we don't think about how much that is. And so that includes what you're spending on, DoorDash, and how much you're spending when you go out to eat and how much you're spending when you're shopping. Sometimes those things are not at the forefront of our mind, but you need to make a budget, and your budget should say, this is how much money we're going to spend on going out to eat this month. And if you don't spend it all, it carries over into the next month. That's okay.
Well, I like that. Give yourself an allowance.
Yes,
And
if
if you overspend, you in trouble. But if you don't, it carry over. I like
Yeah,
that.
and I even like about thinking about Amazon. I have a slight problem with that. I'm just saying. So maybe me thinking about here's what that top amount would look like, and I can work my way down to spend that versus spending and then looking at the end going like,
I know you got one
ooh,
amen.
I know somebody's on board with me, but then looking at the end and say, ooh, I didn't think I spent that much with Amazon this year, or whoever it may be. That's just my issue.
Oh, I know. And Amazon make it so easy, right?
Ooh.
That's easier than going to the store because you got to get up and get dressed, drive, and
Make
do
it convenient.
Amazon. You just on your phone or your iPad, whatever. You just flick and pick and
flick and pick. I need to manage. I'm about to manage it. I got the B and I got the M. I'm about to manage that. Thank you.
Yes. So managing your spending habits, and then W. When we talk about the B, M, and the W is wealth building. So once you have control of your finances, once you know how much you have coming in and how much you have going out, now we can start building wealth. And building wealth is the third component and the most critical component. I like to tell people, and I want to read this exactly the way it's written in the Bible. In Proverbs 13:22, it says, a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's
children.
Amen. Come on, you got that. To his children's children.
Right.
And there's a man, he said, you know what? We plan for Friday night. We may even plan for our family reunion coming up in the summer.
Right.
But our counterparts, they're planning 3 and 4 generations down. right? So while we plan for the short game, they're playing for the long game. And that's what we need to do. We need to get in for the long game, building wealth, teaching our kids how to build wealth for generations.
Wow. I'm at a pause right there. Planning for my children's children.
Yes.
That's
the
again
long
one of
game.
that's it's I mean it's hard to think about it because sometimes like you said it's just it's tough to plan just for this weekend,
Right.
right? But planning for my children's children. And that's the one thing we want to do. I think about talking about building legacy.
Yes.
That's what this is about, right?
Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
Let's rewind it. Let's say somebody's listening. We're about 3 minutes before the break, so I want you to take us into the break with this answer. Somebody said, "I wish I would have got this information when I was younger, but now I'm behind the 8 ball. I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul. I don't have this." But what advice would you have for them? Whether it's some financial literacies, a book, or anything? Floor is yours.
Oh, you're never, as long as you're breathing, you are not behind the 8 ball.
All right.
As long as you have health and strength. What I will say though is become knowledgeable about finances, right? Understand the affairs that you have. Understand how much you have coming in. Understand your credit card debt. What's the interest rate on each one of those credit cards? Become aware. There's a wealth of knowledge on YouTube. There's a wealth of knowledge in books. You can go and get freeware. So I want you to become aware of it and then make yourself knowledgeable about it. And now you can make a decision about
Do you
it.
have any favorite books?
I do. I have a number of them. So the first one I would say is it's do I have a list here?
And I,
Why?
and I
Oh, I was gonna say
no,
while
no,
she
I
was
was going to say
looking.
no. You can look, but I was just saying when you said my favorite word, you said YouTube, and I think I done got 4 more degrees off the University of YouTube because
Right.
it is a wealth of knowledge between the TED talks, the YouTubes. I mean, you have to be careful who you're listening to, but it is a bundle of podcasts and things of that nature. Like Earn Your Leisure, I love them.
Yes.
They bring a lot of people, but
Well, I was also gonna say TikTok. I got that from you.
Oh,
Like right
sure.
now, I'm looking at TikTok. I'm looking at dance moves. I'm looking at hairstyles. I'm looking at workout. Right. But you could actually get some financial advice and some tips right on TikTok as well.
You can, and I cannot find my list of
Well,
books here,
that's
but
okay.
I will
We'll
get
give
them
you an
back to you.
opportunity to
No,
do that.
Yes.
I think this is actually a perfect
Yeah.
time to just take a break,
yeah,
right?
no, as we're
Oh.
going into you're listening to Nyumba Upendo on 860 a.m. What I want to say the best book I ever got it was from a friend, and all our time in college he went to school to be a social worker.
Mhm.
Then he moved out the state. The next thing I know, he's a DJ. I was like, man, you just playing with that. What is you doing? And he was like, hey, no, this is what I'm gonna do. Next thing I know, he's the number one DJ in North Florida in the Jacksonville area. And then when he did that, it was so good that he established his own business. But what he did is he came back and he gave me this book called The Richest Man in Babylon.
Yes.
And when I got that book, that's when I started my business because it gave me the key. And I was amazed how this book of 132 pages could be so rich. It wasn't dense. It was like in a story form. It was like so easy to read. And I was just like, this is what it is. So when you talk about financial literacy, it's amazing where you can get that information from. Hey, we're going to come back on the other side. We're going to open it up for questions too. So if you feel the need to call in at 444-5250. You're listening to Nyumba Upendo on WNOV 860 AM 106.5.
The voice.
I give raw chills, 10 different looks, and my lips so kill. I kiss him in the mouth, I feel all grills. Heat in the car, that's wheels on wheels. Woo! I was born to flex, yes. Diamonds on my neck. I like boarding jets. I like more.
Welcome back, Milwaukee. You are listening to Nyumba Upendo, WNOV 860 AM, The Voice. We have the pleasure this afternoon to be talking to Sheila Brazil Jackson with the topic of financial health is financial wealth. And we're excited to have you on. But you know what? We couldn't even be on if we didn't have sponsors. So we got to take just a moment to thank our sponsors. We'd like to thank Mental Health America of Wisconsin, Uniting Garden Homes, and Healthy MKE. Thank you so much, because without them, we couldn't be here, right?
We could
So,
not be here.
I love it. So we have this, I mean, if you are just tuning in, you are like in for a treat. We've been talking a little bit about money. That's why we had Cardi B to bring us in, just talking about money a little bit, right? I'm going to actually open the floor to you, Ms. Jackson, just to talk a little bit about the economic state of Black America. I know that's something you really wanted to lay into. Tell us what's on your mind about that.
Yeah, so there was a publication that was put out in 2017 about the economic state of Black Americans. It was written primarily updated by McKinsey Institute. And one of the things that particularly really stuck out to me was it said in the article, it said, and by 2053, if nothing else changes among African Americans, our wealth will be zero by 2053.
Ooh.
That's scary. That's scary to understand. And they went into details of why that's going to happen. And one of the things they pointed out was, as we are building more automation and we are investing more in artificial intelligence, that's going to impact those jobs that's at the lower level than any other area. And so when you think about the automation that's occurring, in some of these low-level jobs, those are the ones that's being built right now. So like if you go to McDonald's in Chicago today, they are all automated. You make your order right at the counter. They have, robots in the back that's creating your order for you. Those jobs will not be available to us anymore. It's really critical that even those are some of our jobs our teenagers had. That was their first experience in working. So now if we're going to make those jobs automated, if we're going to make those jobs unavailable, that's not building wealth in our community.
So can I ask you a question with that? Because what you're telling me then is, we think about like in the 1970s, Milwaukee specifically, and you think about the Midwest was one of the great places. That's why we had the great migration, because you had these industrial jobs. And then we see what happened with post-industrial, with our income wealth and things of that nature and whatnot like that. So you're telling me in the next 30 years, if we don't do something different, that type of drop off where we're already at is going to get even worse.
Even worse. Yes, wow. Exactly. And it's serious. And this is why I think it's important that we educate our children. Right. We need to let them know that they have to start when they go to college. They need to go into our STEM areas. And so that's science, technology, engineering, and math. We need to encourage them to be a part of building. So when I say building, I mean anything that's going to be needed to build AI. Artificial intelligence isn't going away. In fact, it's just going to explode even more. And so we're going to need a lot of engineers.
That ChatGPT.
That's that ChatGPT.
Right.
Yes.
They won't even need us to write books.
Right.
But think about the data analysts that you'll need and the data engineers that you'll need. We cannot supply enough of them. And so we're not competing anymore, our young people, with just someone who's here in the United States. So you're competing with Korea and with China and with India and with Brazil. And so we need to ensure that they are able to compete on every level. And so we need to encourage them to do so.
Okay.
Wow.
One of the other,
but that's a solution for the problem. I love that.
Right. You dug right in right away.
Mm-hmm. And one of the other things that I really took away from it, it's funny how we look at it again, but it says rich people stay rich by pretending to be poor. Rich people stay rich by pretending to be poor. And poor people stay poor by pretending to be rich. Right? So one of the things that we have to be real careful of, Dr. George Fraser, if you haven't,
Oh, I love him.
do you? Okay. So he says it best. He said, I'd rather walk around with a plastic bag and $5,000 in it than to have a $5,000 bag with no money in it at all.
Hey, that's one of those YouTube TikToks. I was just rolling and I heard him. He is so brilliant, so matter of fact with his conversation. George Fraser, put that name in your vocabulary, put it in your Google, look him up and see it. No, I love
him. I love
so
him.
down to earth. Like just
Very.
simple. He said, hey, listen, I'm gonna give you what to do. If you don't do it, it's on you. But don't say that I didn't get this information to you. And so plain. Wow.
Exactly.
Nuggets at the Nuggets. FRAIZER, George Fraser. Not Frazier, but Fraser.
Well,
Yes.
okay. So no, I appreciate that. Do you have anything else and just in regards to that whole economic component that you wanted to cover? I just want to make sure you got everything in that you were thinking about.
And just planning for the long term.
Okay.
That was another thing that this article really brought out, right? Is we plan for our immediate need. So that could be a 1 year. We need to be planning for generations. And how do we go about doing that? We have to set up a financial budget, a plan, and we have to ensure that we're going back to track to that plan. We don't want to just wish that things will happen. We have to put our plan together and put it in place.
Okay. I love it. I love it. So I'm getting ready to do this. I'm going to say a couple of phrases and I want you to say the first thing that comes to mind. It's almost like a therapy session or something. All right. So I'm going to say I'm going to say a couple of phrases and then you just kind of say whatever comes to mind. First one is, and I got some of these facts off of, I just Googled some components of financial habits, right? One says always have 1 year of emergency funds. What do you think?
Oh, I love it. Yes. Right. Start small. So I don't want you to start thinking 1 year. That seems like such a big, daunting task. I say start small, have 3 months, then build to 6 months. It's critical to have that because an emergency is going to happen, whether it's something with a car or your heating mechanism goes out in your house. You're going to need some dollars for something. So definitely have at least 3 months of savings put together in a savings account that you can't readily get to.
That's important.
So that you will be able to address any emergency that you may have in your future.
Okay, got it. Next one. Save 10%, invest 20% of your gross annual income.
And I will say that's a start. I will say that's a start, right? You're just going to start there. And I'm going to add one more component to that.
Please.
It's giving, right? Giving back is so critical. Now, whether you call it karma or we call it the law of harvest, where
sowing and reaping.
Sowing and reaping, right?
On,
my pastor loves to say is same subsequent superior. And we always think negative, but there's a positive to this sowing and reaping. Same subsequent superior. The way that you give things out is the same thing that you're going to get back. So if you are one who likes to give joy and peace, you'll get joy and peace back.
Yes.
Lord karma. I love that.
I love it.
Come on. So you know what? Help someone else out. Be a blessing to someone. And that will come back to you when you don't even think about it. So I encourage to give, and a lot of people say, well, I don't have anyone to give to. You have so many places in this community to be able to give to. You could start here with this radio show, right? Be a sponsor. This is wonderful. I'm serious, right? We have so many things in our community that needs your assistance. So when you say save, yes, save 10%. Make sure that you are saving it and putting it away. Don't go back and get it because that's not saving anymore, right? Will's like, oh, I'll put it over there, but then you go back and get it and spend it. You didn't save it. So
make it put it in a difficult place to get
put it in a very difficult place, right? And then look at where you're saving. Mattress. No, that's not good enough.
No, I can reach under there too easy, right? Well, I want to go to one more, but I got to go dig into one that you said. You talked about that whole donation component. Yeah, I agree. The show would be a great way to do it. I want to talk about a little bit. You mentioned, we were just talking about you happened to be at the hospital and you saw, what did you see and talk to the community about that? Because I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I was just standing, I'm visiting at the hospital. And there's so many things that's dedicated to the hospital in name of someone, right? So the elevator, believe it or not, had a big sign in the name of such and such. We're dedicating this elevator, or the cafeteria, or the parking garage are dedicated in the name of someone. And I'm thinking to myself, in the community, why don't we have the same thing? We should be doing this in our community and dedicating, a library in behalf of Sheila Jackson.
Hey.
Yeah.
Right. And that's going to last 50 years from now when I'm long gone. So you want to be able to give back, but you want to have that longevity of what you're giving back to.
That's
Ashe.
beautiful. That's beautiful. Just got one more.
Keep going.
I just got one more. This one sometimes can cause a little bit of controversy, but I'm going to go with it and see where you go with it. What comes to mind? It says pay cash for large expenses or use a credit card to pay it off immediately. If you use the credit card for big purchases,
Yes.
What's your thoughts about all of that?
This one is that you have to know yourself. If there's nothing else that you do, know who you are. We have some people who are savers and we have some people who are spenders. Know which one you are. If you are a saver, I encourage you to use the credit card and use the points, right? That's great advantages to having points on a credit card. Use it. You know that you're going to save it and you're going to pay off that credit card every month. If you know that you're not a saver and you're not going to pay that credit card off every month and you are a spender, don't do it. Don't.
Right,
and I'm going to be
right.
serious because
Know thyself.
in marriage, know yourself. In marriage, you usually have one as a spender and one as a saver. That's what I've just noticed in all of my years of doing taxes and all of my years of meeting with couples. I think that's just that balance, right? To have. And when you have a spender and a saver, you hold each other accountable. And that's a wonderful balance to have in a marriage. And so even in doing taxes, I tell people, some people do really well when they get $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 back in their income taxes. From my perspective as a saver, I'm like, no, I just gave the government my money for a whole year and they held on to it. I didn't get no interest on it. I didn't get any benefits from it. I don't want you. So I'm going to change some things on my W-4 form so that I can get more money in my check every 2 weeks versus giving it to the government.
Hey, let me say that. Now she's an accountant, so she know how to do that because there's 3 people we don't mess with. And that's the I, the aura, and the S.
I do not.
So what she's saying is
Absolutely.
legally changing
Yes.
for your thing. So please make sure you
Exactly.
get that
heard that
and
part,
all
right?
of that part.
Right. I do
Because I know
not.
she's an expert.
Right.
Somebody else heard it like, yeah, I could. No,
No.
not like that, cuz.
That's where you play the disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed on this show does not necessarily reflect those of the staff or management of this radio station.
Come on with it.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, you don't want to be on the IRS list. I'm just going to tell you that. But if you know that you like getting that large amount of money in April, if that works for you, continue it, right? I have people I do taxes for, they use that money for their vacations or they use that money for that large purchase that they need to make. And so I'm not one to hinder you from either way. All I say is know yourself. If you are expecting that very large sum of money back in April or whenever we get it, then I will say I would encourage you to do it.
I love it.
No, I was going to say, because I got some when you was talking like that, fun money, and you were just talking about vacations, because sometimes people are so caught up, okay, I got to save for this, I got to do this, but then they don't get to live even in the moment. What are some of the things, and you don't have to get too personal, but what you would suggest, like saying, how do we plan for fun?
Yes, that's so important. I'm going to be honest, when I was growing up, I got my first job when I was 15. I worked the summer youth program with the city of Milwaukee. I think a lot of people may know about that. And I worked at City Hall. And my mother, when I got my first check, I thought it was a whole lot of money. And you can imagine, I'm going to date myself. It was $3.35 an hour and I worked 4 hours a day. So you can imagine how much money that little check was. But I was so excited. And she said, make sure you buy yourself something. If it's a 20-cent pack of Juicy Fruit gum, make sure you worked hard. So do something that you enjoy. Nobody wants to work hard and not enjoy it. So that's part of what this understanding your money and where your money is going. You need to make sure that you're having fun and you're planning for fun, right? So you're planning to say, we're going to take the family to Disney next June. And so we're starting to save $200 a month right now for everybody, right? Or for our anniversary, we're going to go to Hawaii. We did that. We did 2 weeks for our 20th anniversary and went to Hawaii. But we planned for that because we wanted to have that paid for. Fun is critical. If I'm going to the Bucks game next week and I want to sit in this 100 level, I want to sit down in front, right? You plan for that. So enjoy life, but plan for it.
And I say everything in moderation too, right?
moderation.
Everything in moderation is key too. Not
Very
doing it
much.
too much and not having fun. I think about, unfortunately, how my father, put all his money away and, he ended up passing away very early. So he had all this money in retirement and he left the earth way too early. And so I think there has to definitely
Has to be a balance there.
But he didn't get cheated.
I didn't say he didn't have some fun, but I still think about the monies
He
that
left
were
way
sitting
too
there.
soon.
But he
Yeah.
left way too soon and didn't get to appreciate, all that he had put to the side. So I just wanted to make sure I bring that piece in as
That's
well.
very
So,
important.
Yeah.
Very
And we just want
important.
to invite the listeners, if you're listening and you have a question for Ms. Jackson, call at 444-5250, 444-5250. And I kind of want to rewind on another thing because, like, I'm listening, and some of the people who I work with, one of the biggest issues that they deal with is like this financial stress where they say, I don't have 10% to save, 20% to invest. In fact, I'm in the hole. Like, what are some of the recovery strategies that you might be able to offer people, whether it's a place they can go or a book they can read, besides just the discipline? Because that's some of the things that we need in our life. But what would you offer?
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up because I have so many people that tell me that. When I say create a budget, know how much you have coming in and how much you have going out. Now we can go and look and say you have more going out than you have coming in.
Mhm.
And that's why you're continuing to put more and more on your credit cards. So we need to increase what your coming in is. And what does that look like, right? So I tell people there's so many items out here avenues we can take. You probably have stuff in your house that you could sell
Mm.
that you don't use. And you're thinking it's just sitting in that corner. You probably don't even think about it. You can go to Facebook Marketplace and sell that table that's been sitting in that corner that you don't use, you don't even care, or that's in the basement that's covered up with dust. Go to Facebook Marketplace. That's $25 or $200 is something.
it's more than
It
what
adds
you
up.
had, huh?
Exactly. So you have avenues there. I don't know if you have a special skill. You do hair. Maybe you do makeup. You can start your own business,
Learn how to
right?
monetize your skills. I love
Yes, please do. There are so many avenues, or maybe it's taking care of people, right? In the South, they have something called a sitter, SITTER. And that was something that the older people did. They would go, the 60-year-olds would go and sit with the 80-year-olds, right? But they were making $10, $15 an hour to do it. My aunt did it, right? And so you could offer your skills to go and take care of a family, not even a family, it could be a family member. It could be somebody in the community and their family is willing to pay you to do it. So you just look for avenues where you can increase your income that's coming in so that you can take care of the bills that you have and pay those off.
I love
You
that.
know, one thing I was guilty of is we'd love to go out to eat. And so I had my children kind of got accustomed to going out to eat, and I'm looking. And so I gave them the bill of what we were doing. And then we went grocery shopping. I said, see the difference? I said, well, we
That's
spent it
good.
this one time. This is what it was. And their eyes open. So I love the fact that you talk about these strategies that we just have to sometimes like look at some of the obvious things of what we're doing that we're hurting ourselves, but can easily help ourselves.
I like to add a strategy as
Yeah.
well, something that Rodney and I have done since our kids were babies. We have a jar that's right in the center of the living room, and it's for coins. So when he comes home from work, he's dumping his coins out, pennies, dimes, nickels to the container. My boys started doing it, and then actually they even do it today themselves. And what we would do is once it got full, we would take it to the bank and we would use that for vacation money, or we would use that to purchase some things.
She said it's good to give. I think you should bless probably like your baby brother or something like that. I think that would just be something that would bless your spirit.
That would just bless your spirit, huh?
And you don't realize how much you can save doing that.
It is amazing.
It's amazing. And then look for other avenues as well, right? We talked about savings. Go out there right now. Interest rates are really high on CDs, right? You could put your money in a CD. One, it locks it away.
Can't touch it.
Right.
So it's locked away for 6 months, 9 months, a year. But then you're drawing 5%, 5.5% interest on that CD. You locked it away. You don't even think about it. And sometimes you forget you even have it. Right. I always encourage people that you can buy. How I started this journey was when I graduated from college, I worked at Kohl's department store, and the team I was on was a pretty young team. They were a few years older than me, but it was still, we were all in our 20s. And the young people on the team, this is when Kohl's was just growing. They were opening up 150 stores every year. They were just expanding. And so these young people, they were taking out second mortgages on their homes and buying Kohl's stock. And I was like, how risky is that? But they had already seen the pattern of what Kohl's was doing. Yeah. And then when the stock got to a certain amount, between 68 and 70, they would do a stock split. And so now you got even more stock, right? And it's growing. And so they were building wealth by taking money out of their home. And then they could pay off that home equity loan, right? And so I was learning that on this one end. And I was like, oh, that's risky. I don't know if I could do that. But they seen what that pattern was, and it was growing. And it had consistently did this for 3 or 4 years, and it was continuing to do it. Then on the other end, I had a young man came to me about a DRIP fund, which is a direct reinvestment purchase program.
Oh.
And that's buying stock directly from the company.
Mhm.
And I have been doing that since I was 22 years old. And so there's so many companies out there that's doing it. You can go out to shareowners.com, and you can go and buy stocks directly. I buy Southwest Airlines, Walgreens, Johnson Controls. It's probably 400 or 500 different companies that you could buy directly from, and you could buy partial. So I started out really small. I only had $25 a month that I could do. You can do $25 a month, and you group those together, and then they will make you a purchase of a share, a partial share, and that money is just growing year over year over year. So don't think that you don't have enough, right? You can do partial shares of stock purchases. Teach your children, right? Get them involved. And so that's what I started doing with my children. And I told them, if you save and you invest, I'll match what you save and you invest.
Oh, look at you.
Right?
You is a
Good.
company. You
But
a
you
business.
Teenagers, they have this instant gratification, and we need to teach them, right?
Yes.
That's our job as parents, to teach them how to have, how to save and how to wait, and that you don't have to get it just because it came out yesterday, right? And the latest shoes, right? The Nikes that's coming out $200 and $300. We need to teach them that, we making Nike richer.
Yeah.
We can go right out here to this outlet and get you some shoes that's not quite as expensive, and put the other money away and start
Buy some
saving
Nike
for that.
stock.
Buy some. That's exactly what we do,
Yeah.
right? That's what they do. So this is important that we continue to teach generation after generation, because I could promise you the kind of conversations that's being held at our counterparts' dinner table sounds a lot different than what we're having. And we need to change the narrative. We need to change the narrative.
I love that. So you talked a little bit about the youth. I want to also push you to think a little bit about our seasoned seniors, some of those that are at home listening in today and thinking, I'm hearing all of this, but, I got a fixed income. Here's where I am. I've lived my life, and where am I now? Any advice or any thoughts about the seniors? I love the babies. I love the seniors.
I do. So, your seniors, they have a special place in my heart. My mom is a senior, and they're on a very fixed income. They get the same amount of money every month. And so my encouragement always is, one, because I'm in cybersecurity as well, be careful.
Yeah.
There are people who are coming for our seniors. They're calling you. The number can show up and it looks like it's legitimately calling from your.
For us too. But you're right.
But they are for our seniors. And so that's a very special place in my heart. Trust but verify, right? So even with my mom, if they call her, I tell her, call me. Tell them that my daughter handles my finances, and I'll call you. I'll have her call you.
Right.
So just make sure that you're having that conversation with your parents, your grandparents, your older aunts and uncles, to be very careful of phone calls that come in or somebody stopping by the house. Be very careful. So that would be the first thing. The second thing would be encourage them to start investing their money as well, right? So a lot of our older people,
it ain't too late to invest. You said it's never too late.
Never too late to invest, right? And so a lot of the grandparents, they'll ask, what can I do for my grandson? I don't have a whole lot, but we have a 529 program. And so if you have a grandson that you want to invest $25 a month for their education, as a grandparent, you can do it. $25 a month, a 529 program, so that by the time that they're ready to go to college, they will have those funds available for them to use.
Right. That seems so much more beneficial sometimes than giving them the $25 to go here or to do that.
I got a question off of Facebook. Thank you, Dale. She says, Sheila, do you have any suggestions for CDs? I want to look into this.
Oh, awesome. So there's a website called bankrate.com. They will show you what's the highest interest rate. You go out there and look for a CD. If you're looking for the term, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, whatever that term is. They'll show you ones. If you want to go particularly local, they will show you where to go locally. Or if you don't mind doing an online bank, they'll show you where those are. So, and then you can sort it by the highest interest rate. Right now, I'm looking at 5.25 interest rate on CDs. And that's pretty high. I'm going to be honest. I haven't seen those type of rates in years.
All right. And just for the people know, even if your money froze and you got to get it, you can get it. It's just at a penalty.
Yes.
So it ain't froze, but it's there to help you just in case. Did you say there's a caller on the line?
I do see one.
Okay. Well, we're going to have to get to him.
We have to get to him right after the break. Right now, you're listening to Nyumba Upendo, House of Love, WNOV 860 AM. We'll be right back to close the show out. back. Welcome back. The House of Love. If you haven't been listening, you are now going to have the pleasure of hearing our special guest, Miss Sheila Jackson. She's been here with us. And before we give you an opportunity for closing words, we got one caller. Caller, do you have a question or a comment? Something real quick we can get in for Miss Sheila Jackson.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. First of all, let me say thank you for taking my call. I was just washing my hands. You call for speakerphone when you come on. So this is NOV, right?
Yeah, we got 30 seconds for you, King.
Okay. All right. So here's my question. But first of all, I wonder why we don't teach as Black people our kids about investing. So like I started teaching my son, who's 9 years old now, about investing, and I've taught him how to take 10 cents and turn it to $100. But why is it something that we don't really teach? It's not being taught in school. We just taught how to work for money and not how to make our money work for us.
Hey, thank you for that call, Miss Jackson.
Yeah, that's a very good question, right? I think it's lack of knowledge. The Bible says our people perish for lack of knowledge. And a lot of times we were not exposed. We did not know how to invest. And so, and we didn't have those funds to invest, our parents and our grandparents. And so once you become knowledgeable, it's our job to make sure that we go and spread that knowledge, not only to our children, but in the community. So I'm glad that you're sharing it with your son and share with other kids that's in the community. They're friends when they come by the house.
Takes a village, right?
It takes a village.
And this time is just, it's so amazing how we have a whole hour, and I tell you, it goes so fast.
Too quick.
Miss Sheila Jackson, again, we can't thank you enough for being on the show. We just so appreciative. And we want to give you like the last words. Like, so if in fact you were able to say something to the listening audience, maybe those that have been listening or those that just came on, what are those important messages? You say, I've come on the show. If you can remember these things, this would be worth my time. And we know we prayed about you coming on and being able to deliver some information to the people. What would that be?
Sure. So I started with the quote that I still say every day, right? A wish without a plan is just a plan. Now, see, you got me. I'm going to have to go and put it down.
A goal.
A goal without a plan is just a wish, right? And so I want to remind you that you have to put a plan in place. It's critically important that you create a budget. You have to know how much you have coming in. You have to understand how much debt you have, which is what's going out. You have to also be able to manage your expenses, right? And so you have to know how much you're spending, whether that's on food or clothing or whatever those extra things that you're spending money on. So those are the two critical things. And before you can build wealth, you have to have some controls on those two areas. That's what I want to leave you with. Build wealth, BMW. 1, create a budget. 2, manage your expenses. And 3, wealth building. Those are the things that we're going to go into 2024 and beyond. And then we're going to teach to our children and to our children's children so we can leave an inheritance for multiple generations.
I love it. Thank you so much. Kwaku, I'm actually going to pass it to you. I got a question for you though. Okay. We've been talking about this financial wealth, right? And it leads to the financial health. Just the quick connection to this is all about mental health, right? You got to get your money right so your mind can be right? Yeah. Can you just talk a little bit like quickly about that?
Well, there's a couple of things what she just talked about is one, that it causes strain in a relationship. So if you can take that out, that causes less strain, which is what more of a thing for you to be able to feel good about yourself. But also when you have money, there's a different level of confidence that comes with that because now I'm not scared when the phone rings. I'm not scared when I go get the mail. It's those different things that creates this type of stress. You talk about cortisol levels being raised, that creates this high blood pressure, that creates the stress. It's just that type of feeling of being able to know, I know what I'm doing. And the fact what she said is a lot of this is in our control. If we can just control our spending, and the first way we do it is by being knowledgeable, but that goes into a point of knowledge itself. So it's not only how we'll do, if I can discipline myself in money, now I can discipline myself in what I eat. I can discipline myself in who I'm around. I can discipline myself. It generalizes into so many other areas. So it's one of those places, if you can get control here, it helps you in so many other areas emotionally.
Thank you so much. I needed to hear your points on that, and they were spot on. Yes. I'm just going to leave with, again, every show that happens, I come on as a co-host, but I always walk away with some tips or some things that I've learned that I want to take into. And right away, I'm like BMW, that's me. I got my budget. I'm about to manage that budget a lot better. And then I need to begin to spend a little bit more time on building that wealth. Yes. BMW for me.
Yes.
Hey, well, listen. All I can say is I'm so excited, and what I'm going to do for the end of this part is I'm going to take Miss Jackson advice, and this is what I'm going to do my part of giving. For the month of January, I've been working with a group of people from St. Jude Hospital where we do 100 push-ups a day. Me and Debo about to do 100 live on.
Oh, not 100. We don't got that much time. No, no, no.
I got to do 100 for the day. No, I'm gonna do 10. Debo messing with me, looking at me like I'm gonna count for you. He said, that's how we gonna do it. And so no, I'm gonna do 10 because I got to get to my 100 for the day. But the reason why I'm doing this is because for every push-up that I do, I've had friends and family members to donate for the hospital. And if you don't know about St. Jude's, why it's such a beautiful hospital in Memphis, Tennessee, is that it's 100% funded for the parents. So for those parents who have children who go through tremendous difficulty from a sickness, we already know that it's a difficult time.
Right.
They alleviate what? The financial burden for those families. So I'm gonna hit this 10 out real quick.
I'm gonna videotape this, just, you know.
Watch this form, Debo.
Yeah, line the camera up on him, Cardi. Make sure we got that camera on.
Watch this form. I'm only doing 10, so it's going army style. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I could have kept it going. I'm waiting for you next time.
For those that don't know, he did do 10 in the production room as well. So I know he did 20 since he's.
Yeah, that's all I did is today. I'm doing
station.
Every place I go, I'm stopping off and I'm doing 10. So when I plug them in, hopefully it inspires people to do this too or to give and whatnot like that. I am so excited to be on WNOV 860 AM with Nyumba Upendo. And our sponsors are?
We would like to give a shout out to Mental Health America of Wisconsin, Uniting Garden Homes, and Healthy MKE. We thank you so much, sponsors.
And all I want to say is this: tune back in next week. We're going to have a great show for you. We're talking about specifically Black men and mental health. Why is it so few of us in here? What can we do about it? And how can we help our community? So just be aware, because they're going to have a presentation, and I'm trying to look and see. I think it's on Thursday, February 8, 2024 at WellPoint Care. We're going to have some of the speakers come in. So listen for that show. We're going to have a good time. Sheila, I'm going to leave you with the last words for the day as we talk about money, 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 money.
Just know that you all are fully capable and able to increase your income if you need to, and know what your budget is. And thank you for this time. I really appreciate what you're doing in our community.
Nyumba Upendo, Milwaukee.